So today I'm going to be showing you how to change a garage door torsion spring. So you can see here that my left spring broke and I'm going to need to replace that. But if you're going to replace one, you might as well go ahead and replace the other one because it's probably fatigued and it's probably about to break too. So there's the springs. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the replacement springs that I bought. So here's the replacement springs. There's a left and a right. The left spring is specific to the left and the right is specific to the right. They're wound in opposite directions. So basically all that you are going to need to know is that the spring that gets mounted to the left side is going to be painted with some red. The spring that gets painted, or that gets mounted to the right side, is painted with some black. You can see that on the end of the spring there. So it's going to be important to put these on in the right place. If you don't, it's not going to work. What also came with my springs was a new bushing, this plastic piece here. That bushing goes up in between the two springs in the middle there. So they sent the replacement bushing. And then also, the kit came with a couple of these coil winding rods. So the coil winding rods, they get put into those holes there. You can see that hole there. And that's what you use to, first of all, take the tension off of the spring that's not broken. And then you use those rods to retension the new springs once you have them in. So that's pretty much the extent of what we're going to do here. And that was basically what came with my kit. So I'll go ahead and walk you through the steps. I'm going to show you how to detension the torsion spring, the one that's not broken. So you're going to need a 3/8 inch wrench and the winding rods that I showed you earlier. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is insert the horizontal rod. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to push up a little bit and then insert this vertical rod in the bottom. Make sure you insert it all the way and then let it down. So this bottom rod is now, it's pushing up against this brace on the door. Okay, so that's going to keep it from wanting to rotate once I loosen up these two set screws. Now, make sure that you are not in the way of these rods, just in case something was to happen. You want to be clear of these rods. Okay. So now, go ahead and insert the horizontal one, push it up a little bit, take out the bottom one, and spin this around until it hits the brace. Put in the next one, the horizontal one, lift it up a little bit, take out the bottom one, bring it up to the brace, and repeat. Just keep following these steps. It's going to have quite a bit of tension on it, so you want to release it slow. It should get easier and easier as you go. And you want to make sure you insert these rods all the way. You don't want them slipping out. And never use anything besides these rods that are designed specifically for this purpose. Once all the tension's off, you're safe to take the rods out. Then you're going to want to go ahead and remove these two bolts here that hold the springs together. What you're gonna wanna do then is get a Sharpie and you wanna mark this pulley on the rod, as you can see there, so that once we loosen these pulleys, when we're done and we go to put them back on, they can get rotated back into the right position. So you're gonna wanna do this on both the left and right pulley. Then you're gonna want to loosen the set screws on the pulley with the 3/8 inch wrench, the same wrench you use to loosen the springs. Once you get that loosened, you can disconnect the cable from the pulley. Just kind of tuck this away somewhere so it doesn't get in your way. And then you're gonna wanna loosen up the pulley on the other side. Once both pulleys have been loosened, you can go ahead and slide this whole rod to one side or the other. Slide it this way. And that is something that you need to be care of. I'll show you a picture right after this showing you what just happened. But then you want to slide the pulley wheel off. You can just set that somewhere. And what I'm going to do right now is just set this here. So let me show you what just happened. In the middle of the rod slipped off that bracket there, because that bracket's just U-shaped. So that is something you're gonna wanna be careful of. So I just need to get back up there now and set that bar back in that bracket. But what I'm gonna do before setting that bar back in the bracket, I'm gonna slide the springs all over to the left side here. Now that I have all the old springs off, I'm gonna go ahead and slide on the new springs. I'm gonna slide them both on from this left side, keeping in mind that the one with the black here on this end, that goes on the right side. The one with red on the end will go on the left side. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this spring on first. Then I'm gonna go ahead and slide on this bushing. I'm gonna slide it on in this direction, followed by the spring with the red end. I'm gonna feed it on like this. Now when you're tightening, or when you're putting the bushings back on, or the pulleys, when you put the pulleys back on, you can see approximately where they were before. You can tell by the rod being worn. So that's how you can get them back in the right position. And now let's tighten up this pulley and get this one put back together. Now that both pulleys have been put back, it was the left one, here's the right one. Both pulleys are put back in place. Now we're gonna come to the middle and we're gonna get that plastic bushing to sit on that metal bracket. And then we're gonna tighten put those together and put the bolt back in and tighten the nut on it. So we're gonna reassemble this middle section now, making sure that that plastic bushing rides on that metal bracket. It's very important. That's kind of the bearing surface. And I just wanted to point something out here on this bushing. So this is roughly how it should look. The bushing, the outside edge of it, should just be sitting on that bracket. And then when you tighten things together, it'll sit on there a little bit better. But that's roughly how it should look before you start tightening things up. Now that the middle has been tightened, the bolts got put back in and are tightened, the next step will be to start winding these springs. So when you do it, we're gonna do 30 quarter turns. So every time I stick that rod in and turn it to put the next rod in, that's a quarter turn. So I'm gonna do 30 quarter turns on each one. And it's important to remember to wind it the correct direction. So I'll show you that here next. One thing that you're gonna wanna do before you start winding the springs, because that's really our next step, is winding the springs. The first thing you wanna do before that though, is you're gonna wanna clamp a vice grip onto the tube and lean it up against the wall. That's gonna keep your cables taut that are connected to your pulley, because otherwise, when you go to wind these springs, if that tube rotates also, it's gonna disconnect your cables and all this is gonna fall apart over here. So make sure you put a vice grip on or something that's gonna prevent the rod from rotating while we start winding these springs. So we're gonna go ahead and do 30 quarter turns on the spring. It's basically the reverse direction of what we did when we unwound the spring. So you stick the rod in, you stick the rod in on the bottom, then you turn it up a quarter turn, put the second rod in at the bottom, lean it up against the door, take out the upper rod, do it again. Just keep repeating these steps. So there, we have 4 quarter turns on this one already. So we just have to keep repeating these steps until we reach 30. Now that we've reached 30 turns, 30 quarter turns, we're gonna go ahead and tap that over a little bit. Then we can go ahead and tighten the set screws. Now that both set screws are tightened, we're gonna put this horizontal rod back in. We're gonna rotate up a little bit so we can take out the bottom one. Then we're gonna slowly release this horizontal and we can take it out. Now we'll repeat the same steps on the left spring. So you push it in on the horizontal, rotate it up, get this bottom one in, and repeat. Okay, now that we have 30 turns on it, I'm gonna go ahead and tap on this again. That relieves a little bit of the tightness in the spring. So you don't have to do it very hard. Just tap it over a little bit. And then tighten the set screws. Then, once the set screws are tightened, go ahead and put the horizontal bar back in. Crank it up a little bit, just enough to take out the bottom bar, and then slowly let it down and pull out the bar. Now that the springs are wound, we need to go ahead and remove our vice grip that was preventing the bar from rotating. Now we can go ahead and test the door to see if the springs are wound up enough, not enough, or just right. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do though is disconnect or make sure your garage door opener thing is disconnected there. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open the door by hand and we're gonna see how balanced the door is. So we should be able to let the door go with the door in the middle if it's properly balanced. If it goes up on its own beyond this, it's too tight, we gotta back it off some turns. If it falls from here, we have to tighten the spring some more. And I can tell already that it's gonna fall back down. Which means I need to get up to the top and adjust the spring some more. I'm gonna go ahead and give I think that felt pretty heavy. The door felt pretty heavy. I'm gonna give them 4 more quarter turns on each. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna do 2 quarter turns on each and see where we're at and take it from there. I hate to overwind it. So I'll do 2 quarter turns additional on each one. Okay, so I went ahead and I increased it by 2 quarter turns on each spring. So let's go ahead and test the door this time. Pretty balanced. I get it much lower and come back. But it's not too bad. I mean, it's fairly balanced, so I'm gonna call that good. Okay, so now the final step of this process is going to be to lubricate the spring. So I just have some standard oil here. I think it's just like a motor oil. I'm just going to pump some out along this spring. I'm going to take my hand and just rub it on the spring here. Do the same to the other one. While I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and hit all these little wheels with some oil. Just lubricate those a little bit while I got the oil out. Make sure everything stays running nice. And there we have it. We have the replaced garage door springs. Now these springs cost me $75 on Amazon. They came with the winding rods. It was 75 bucks total. My local garage door company wanted $300 to do this job. This took me roughly an hour and a half. And again, that was a little slower because I was explaining the process. If I wasn't recording it, it would have probably taken me about an hour. So the way I look at it is I just made a couple $100 an hour. So anyway, I hope this video helped. It's easy to do, just a few steps, honestly. It's easy to do. I hope it helped you. Please comment below. Please subscribe to my channel. I do other things around the house, product reviews and so on. So please subscribe, please like the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.